Hello,
Ooh.
everybody. Welcome to. Oh, I just closed the window. Oh my god. Welcome to the Literally Dead Book Club discussion for the month of July. Or we might as well just call it the Riley Sager Fan Club at this point because we
I'm
have
gonna just
read
hold these.
4 books
What
in
is your
4 years.
book?
I don't know what that just was.
It's my stitch markers. They're kind of the same, similar colors.
Perfect.
Just show your hand.
I don't have a copy, guys. Oh yeah.
Chanel dyed her hair so she could match the book cover just for the live show.
Wow.
Such a fangirl.
Wait, did you really?
I just randomly ended up matching.
I was like, damn, that's dedication.
So, Elias, your mic is a little bit quiet.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm going to see if I can turn you up. Or maybe you just need to get closer.
hello.
To your mic. Maybe you just
Can you know?
I don't know.
Do
Or
I
just
just need to
everyone-
speak louder?
Oh, yeah, there, you're good.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so what are we doing? What are we doing? I want you to give us in the comments if you read it, if you didn't read it, if you DNF'd it. I love seeing the emojis. It helps gauge like who's here to hang out. And I know like sometimes I pop into live shows and I just want to know what happened in the book. Like I didn't read it, but I just want all the information. So we're going to give that to you today if you're just here for all the drama. While you're leaving that, I'm going to have my co-hosts introduce themselves. I would love to know your name, your channel, what you typically read. And I always love to hear a recent favorite mystery, thriller, or horror book, because that's what we're always here to chat about, if you wouldn't mind. And then we're going to go in order. So Chanel, Elias, Patches, and then Patches is going to give us the synopsis and roll right into that afterwards. Thank you so much for agreeing to do that. And by that, I mean I forced you. So Chanel, go ahead.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Chanel from Chanel Time, which I haven't posted anything in like 2 years, but it's been a roller coaster, guys. You'll definitely be able to, see what I'm reading and stuff more frequently on Bookstagram. So my username is like on the screen, so you can find me there. The other thing was recent favorite, right? Okay, so I just finished like yesterday, Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. Oh my, 5 stars. Iconic. It was so good. I was like, I've never wanted someone to murder someone so badly in my life. It was so juicy. If you like family drama, somebody, going for revenge, and like a group of people who just seem like they would never be friends or work together ever until this circumstance, then this is the book for you. It was so good. And I ate it up in like less than a day. I was like, ooh, delicious. And now I'm like obsessed. I'm obsessed with this author now. Like I want to read everything that they've written. So if you haven't read it, go read it. That's all I have to say.
Wow. Hello everyone. My name is Elias, or from Elias. And the last thriller horror book that I read was this book called Tender in the Flesh. I gave that one 4 stars. I thought it was one of the most goriest and disturbing books I've ever read. It was really, really just disturbing. Because I didn't really know too much about the book going in. I thought it was just about this one singular character, but it's not. So I just recently finished that book too. But it reminds me of the show Hannibal. Lots of graphic depictions of human skin and just cannibalism and meat. So it was great.
I was just watching your vlog for it, and I was excited to see your thoughts because
it was a wild time.
Fucked up. Elias, you are on a little bit of I think it might be your internet, just so you know. You're a little
delayed.
You're a little slow.
This live it's going, it's an adventure.
I just wanted to let you know in case there was anything you wanted to do. All right.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My audio good? Okay. I had some technical difficulties on my end. No big deal. Hi, I'm Patches. I'm new here. Hello. So excited. I'm so grateful that you asked me to be a part of this. I've been, not a fangirl or nothing, but I've been watching Books and Lala for a while now, so this is so exciting. I'm Patches Papercut on TikTok. I don't know if you follow me over there. I'm also You Can Call Me Patches, which is my true crime TikTok. I don't know if anybody follows that, but You Can Call Me Patches is also on Instagram, and I'm trying to boost my Instagram following, so please.
I'll make sure to add your link after.
Please do. It's kind of embarrassing. I try to stay away from thrillers because they wind up disappointing me. But my mom was listening to an NPR, shout out Mom, I think she's watching. Hi, Mom. She was listening to this NPR interview, I believe, with this author, Katie Williams, who wrote My Murder, which has turned out to be like my favorite book of the year. And I guess you can call it a thriller. It's kind of just creepy more than anything about like government experiments and serial killers, and I just ate it up. So that's my favorite so far this year, and I guess favorite thriller because I've read like 4 thrillers in the past couple weeks, and none of them have worked.
Oh,
so
I have that one on my TBR, so that's.
I think you would really like it. I think you would really like it. So.
Okay, yay.
And if you don't, you didn't hear it from me.
Actually, do you think it would make for a good book club selection? Like, is there enough discussion and mystery in it, or no?
I would say yes, because I actually made a local book club read it. And by made, I mean it was like picked out of a hat. So I didn't make anybody read it. But they read it and they all loved it. And they said it was a great book club discussion because there's a lot you could take out of it. And it says a lot about true crime. And I think a lot of people have opinions on it. So I will say yes.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Now, can you tell us what this book is about, please?
Oh, Lord have mercy. You know, I was really wanting to write like my own synopsis, and I just kept getting like timelines and people mixed up. So you know what? I'm just gonna read off of the Goodreads. So, The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Okay, now reduced to a schoolyard chant, the Hope family murders shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. While most people assumed 17-year-old Lenora was responsible, the police were never able to prove it, or that she did it. Other than her denial after the killings, she has never spoken publicly about that night, nor has she set foot outside Hope's End, the cliffside mansion that's falling apart where the massacre occurred. It's now 1983, and home health aide Kit McDeer arrives at a decaying Hope's End to care for Lenora after her previous nurse fled in the middle of the night. In her 70s and confined to a wheelchair, Lenora was rendered mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate with Kit by tapping out sentences on an old typewriter. One night, Lenora uses it to make a tantalizing offer. She wants to tell her everything about the massacre. As Kit helps Lenora write about the events leading to the Hope family massacre, it becomes clear there's more to the tale than people know. But when new details about her predecessor's departure come to light, Kit starts to suspect Lenora might not be telling the complete truth, and that the seemingly harmless woman in her care could be far more dangerous than she first thought.
You really do have such a great podcast.
Yeah, that was so smooth.
I did used to do that for work. Thank you.
I love it. Okay, I would love to hear everybody's rating at this point. I just put up a little poll for everybody in the chat, and I'll tell you the results of that in a second. But as the ratings fly by, because who can keep up with this? I already see a lot of 5s and 3s and 4s, so it's kind of a mix. But it seems like this might be one of the most successful book clubs we've had this year. And if we can keep it spoiler-free for just a second and give me a 1-sentence summary of why you gave it the rating that you gave it. Let's start with Chanel.
Okay, so I just need everyone to know that I am a huge, well, I wouldn't say it, I'm a huge Riley Sager fan. I've read all his books. And genuinely 5 stars. This is like my favorite of all of them. However, I will say this, like, literally everything else that I was like, yeah, this is my favorite, bumped down. But I will say that this is probably the one that I can see, and I mean, I can understand regardless everybody disliking his books, but I can really understand where this book could have gone wrong for a lot of people. So I'm kind of hoping that one of you guys hated it, so I can hear some tea.
I do like to see like it all represented.
Exactly.
So
I'm really hoping somebody hated it, but I give it 5 stars. And I guess my really short reason why was I really loved the family drama between like Lenore and her sister, and also Kit and her dad and her mom. Like, oh, it was so juicy. Like, Like, one thing about me, if there's family drama, I'm gonna eat it up. So,
So
5
true.
stars.
Love it. Elias, did you hate it? Did you love it?
I feel like everyone's gonna be a little bit disappointed. I feel like this was okay. It was pretty flat for me. I felt like a lot of it, especially 2/3 of it, was a little slow, kind of boring. But I think since it was like his last book and like his contract or whatever, I felt like he played a lot of it super safe. Like I felt like from like the previous 2 books, which I did not like as much. This was definitely a step up. The ending, though, oh my god, so many twists. The last like 20 pages, so many revelations. But I think this was like a pretty solid book. I feel like this is like his most, for me. I feel like this is like his most accessible book in terms of like people who might be new to thrillers, because it pretty much has like everything. It's not too like chaotic or gory or anything like that. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm just gonna give it like a solid 3. It's not bad, but it's not like the best I've ever read from him. But it's definitely a step up from his previous 2 books that I read. So ending it safe, which I'm okay with. So yeah, 3 out of 5 for me.
It's probably not his last book for the person asking, but according to like his Twitter and contract news, this was the last one that he said he was going to come out with for a while. He said like
thank God.
A couple years off is what he said.
And I was like, no.
No, listen, I'm actually happy because the last couple of books have been giving like the mortgage needs to be paid. And so I'm not sad that this is gonna be the last for a while because maybe he needs a little bit longer on the projects. So
well, I gave it 5 stars. Oh my god, I ate this up, just like Chanel was saying, and I have had a really rough couple of years. I'm just gonna say years with thrillers.
Same.
And Riley Sager is so hot and cold for me. I have literally given his books 5 stars, and I have DNF'd 1. And I think what's weird is I tend to like the ones that most people didn't like. Lock Every Door was okay for me, but Survive the Night, I loved that one, and I don't think anybody else did.
I respect it.
So, Home Before Dark is the one I DNF'd. You couldn't. Well, maybe you could pay me enough to write that. Like Chanel said, the mortgage is due. So, but I don't know. I guess for a sentence, it was creepy. I obviously am into true crime, so once I heard that, Lizzie Borden type massacre type murder type whatever, I was like, okay, I'm probably gonna like that, and I was intrigued. I even kind of teared up at like the very last page. I was getting a little emotional, and I don't know if I should admit to that, but you know what? I had a good time. And this year I've been like just rating on vibes. So the vibes were great. 5 stars, so
I love it.
I loved it.
If there was news about him coming out with something, I haven't seen it. My information is just based on like last year. And the reason that I picked this year, because I was like, well, maybe he's done. So let's commit to it, do it one more time, and maybe that's it. I think if there is something coming out next year, it better be announced officially and have a cover pretty soon if it's coming out in the summer, because it's that time of year. So I'll be keeping an eye out. I know Chanel said she wanted everyone to be represented. She wanted someone to hate it. What did me, Mitch?
Okay, I need everyone
for that. So sorry. I gave it a 4. I really liked it. I think it is what I wrote down as my sentence is exactly what Elias said. Like it went exactly where I expected it to. Not where I expected it to go, but it was expected. It's a really traditional one. I feel like I could easily recommend this to anybody. I think it played the safest of all of his books. It's going to go down in history as my most recommended Riley Sager. So if you are here and you didn't know anything about it and you're just here for the vibes, I would say leave now before the spoilers come, because I really would recommend it. I think most people could enjoy it. And based on the poll I just put up, 50% of people here gave it a 4. That's pretty high. 30% gave it a 5.
Whoa.
And only 22% gave it a 1, 2, or 3. So this is a pretty successful one, I think. And let's get into, I'm going to run this live show a little bit differently. I feel like it's going to be a longer one, just so everyone's prepared, because I just want to go through reveal by reveal rather than my typical questions like, who's your favorite character? What's your favorite scene? I want to go through what actually happened in the book. And with every reveal, I want to know, did you see that coming? Did you like that reveal? What did you think was kind of going on in that moment? So first, what we need to do is I'm going to go through the family tree because I feel like some people may need this refresher.
Wow.
There was a lot of people, there was a lot going on. So we had the Hope family, which the parents are Evangeline and Winston, and they were murdered. And Virginia supposedly was murdered as well by Lenora. That's the rumor going around. That's what the book is about, right? Then we had the McDeer family, which I literally forgot that was our last name until I went to make the family tree. We had Kit, who's our main character, and she has a mom and dad in the story. And then there's a whole bunch of other characters. So we have Mrs. Baker, who's the housekeeper, who basically like runs the house, controls the house, keeps everything in line, not housekeeper as in cleaner. We had the former groundskeeper, Ricardo. I think my webcam just paused. I think I have too much running, so I'll close out of this pretty quick. But we had Ricardo. I don't remember if Bernice in the past storyline had a job or had anything to do with the house, but she was Ricardo's wife. We also in the past, was she? Okay. In the past, we also had an artist named Peter. And then in the current storyline, we have Carter, who's the current groundskeeper, Mary, who's the previous caretaker who just left, vanished, died, whatever happened to her. We have Archie the chef. We have also in the past storyline, Ricky, that we'll talk about, who is a love interest of the girls, Lenore and Virginia, whoever. And then we have Detective Vic. And then we have the current maid in the house, Jessica. So that's everybody who's like a main character. There were 2 or 3 more names that weren't as important or pop in later and kind of would spoil this whole conversation. So here's everybody in here to remind you what went on. And now I will leave this behind.
No, that helps so much.
I'm so glad. Let me go back to this view. I want to know, the very first thing is, the things we know going into the book is there was the Hope family massacre, and we have Kit's past, like where she came from, what happened before she came to this manor, why she had to leave her job, why she came back to her job. I want to know like what your theories were regarding this. When you first opened the book and you knew that a family had been massacred by Lenora, everybody knows that. Did you think that's what actually happened? Did you have any theories about what had gone on? And then if you had any theories about Kit's past and what was going on with her.
I think for me, I suspected that Lenore was not actually Lenore. Like I had a feeling that something was off. And like I said, like I've read all of Riley Sager's books, so I was kind of like, this is a little too easy. I was like, something's wrong here. And I also suspected that and there was like some weird thing where I was like, I feel like she really knows what she's doing and she's just like pretending. Like I kind of had the suspicion also because I read all of Riley Sager's books. So I was kind of like, I'm on to you. But I kind of also thought that maybe Kit was Lenore's child in some way or grandchild in some way. So those were like all my theories involving this.
All right, cool.
I'm with Chanel as well on that because I've read every single Riley Sager book as well, and so I was coming in like hot. I was like in the very beginning. I was honestly expecting a little bit more than what the like actual twist. Like I expected Kit to be like I thought she murdered her mother, but that didn't turn out the case. Like I thought it would be like towards the darker side. But I feel like, again, reiterating what I said earlier, Riley played it super safe, this book, I think. So everything that I had like crazy conspiracy theories about never came to fruition. Like it was very like melodramatic and safe. So yeah. Like my theory was that like the sisters swapped places, which was half true. But I never believed for a second what Lenore was writing and stuff was true and that she did it. So
I think one of my only superpowers when it comes to reading is being able to just kind of like ride the wave and not have like theories going in. Like if I read the first chapter, my brain isn't like working overtime to like try and figure out what's going on. I'm just like, ooh, interesting first chapter. And like I'm good at being able to just like keep it rolling. So at the beginning, I was just, yes, similar to what Chanel was saying, when it comes to thrillers like this, especially Riley Sager, don't trust anything you read. Just like keep going, like and at first, of course, I mean, even similar to keep, referencing Lizzie Borden, but like we still don't even know if she, So at first I was like, I don't know anything about this, but I'm just assuming there's something more here than just a girl killing her whole family at 17 years old. No suspicion that, there was ever a parent trap swap or whatever. And I never suspected anything like that. And Kit Stark passed too. I mean, even I was like, yeah, I'm sure there's something going on here. So it's kind of hard for me to answer this one because I'm really good at just going in and keep it on, not suspecting a thing.
I completely agree. I think it changes per book, but for Riley Sager, for me, I am just like, I'm just in it. Like, I'm really not thinking about anything. And maybe it's because of the speed in which I normally read them and I just eat them up and I just want to know what's going on. Like, I'm not theorizing. I had absolutely no theories going into this book. I was like, probably Lenora didn't kill them because what would the book be then? Like, is that just going to be the big reveal at the end that everything you thought was true is true? That's kind of boring. And I didn't think that he would do that. So it seems like most of the people in the chat are saying they didn't think Lenora did it either. And most people, a lot of people are saying they thought Virginia was still alive. I genuinely probably didn't even have that thought. I was like, they're all dead, whatever. Like maybe, I don't know.
The whole time I was like, she's somewhere.
Somewhere in the house.
No, that's not. No, we're on the same wavelength.
Literally.
No.
And also I think sorry, Alice, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I thought the twist was Riley was going to pull off, I don't know if you ever seen, well, it's going to spoil this horror movie called The Boy. I don't know if you ever seen it.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that twist was going to happen where one of the sisters, the sister was alive the entire time and she's like active and healthy, like this, creepy 70-year-old sister is just walking around the house and just like doing stuff. But
especially with all the nighttime walking and stuff that was going on.
Somebody's somebody's still alive. Somebody's going in her room at night.
No, because something that I was actually dreading, that immediately when I started the book, I was like, this better not happen. I'm just not going to think about it because it better not happen, because I didn't really enjoy Home Before Dark because of the weird supernaturally thing that I couldn't figure out. And so I was dreading that was going to happen in this book. And I just forced myself to not think about it because I was like, please, just don't do this and we will still be like this. Just don't do what you did there and we'll be fine.
We have had some unexpected paranormal elements in some of the book club books in the past year. So I was curious if this was going to be ghosty. I at no point was convinced that it was going to be paranormal, but because of what Riley Sager has done in the past, he has gone there. He has actually done it. This one could have done it. So there was one moment I remember when Kit was in the armoire, and I really loved that scene because it was giving me the vibes of Lock Every Door, where she's in the cabinet, what's that called? The butler thing. The dumbwaiter, thank you. And it gave me those vibes, and I was on edge a little bit. And then suddenly the other person left the room, and I was like, "Oh, the ghost distracted her. Maybe that's actually what it is." And then that, didn't pan out, and also it didn't make any sense after. So I was like, "Never mind." Okay, so the first reveal in the book to me was at 15% when we found out who Kit was caring for, and at this point we found out that she had killed her, or she was responsible for the death of someone she was caring for, and it was revealed that she was actually caring for her own mother. I was shocked. I was really caught off guard. I don't know if you guys, maybe you don't know the character well enough to care at that point, but I was shocked. I don't know about you.
I was like, just a day in the life, whatever.
I mean, it was. I felt kind of bad because it did feel like more of a assisted suicide situation, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So I mean, that wasn't the most shocking reveal to me. I loved how that one was kind of slowly given to us, I guess. So that one, of course, I didn't see coming, but I thought that one was done probably better than any of the other crazy reveals that we get thrown. So that one was kind of really sad, actually. That one was the most like, oh man. So
I think I was more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that. Didn't see it coming.
No, I was gonna say that I think I was more sad about that reveal than shocked, because I saw someone in the comments say something about how the twist worked for them because we didn't need to know a lot about Kit to be shocked about that happening. And I kind of agree with that, because regardless, thinking about being in such a situation with someone who's your mom and like trying to figure out what to do and, you know, struggling with that and knowing that you're going to be thinking about that like for the rest of your life, I think regardless of what you know about a person, that is something that's going to make you feel like an emotion. And so I think that that's what made it so sad. And then knowing what happened to her career afterwards because of that was even more sad. So yeah.
I wasn't shocked in a sense. I was actually hoping it would lean towards like a darker side, that, Kit, you think you were on her side the entire book, but towards the end, it feels like she did everything on purpose. I was like hoping she would also kill Mary and stuff, but like that didn't happen. But
Elliot, you're so mean, because I literally wanted it to be some random patient, and I wanted to find out the Kit was evil and then be worried about Lenore and like be worried about the whole thing. Like I wanted to be in my boots shaking, but I was emotional.
That should have been a twist. That should have been a twist. Like you thought this girl was kind and human. No, she's like the most terrible person.
You're still on Tinder as the flesh time, Elliot.
You know what? That's true. That's true. I'm just trauma dumping at this point.
I think that I actually really strongly think that this book was written as a response to like all of the hate Riley Sager has ever gotten. He was like, I'm going to keep things safe. I'm going to introduce like interesting things. I'm not going to introduce these characters that you hate. Everything's just going to be chill. Like he doesn't want to piss anybody off.
Yeah.
So the second part of that reveal, who was actually responsible for the death of Kit's mother, was her father. When we found that out, I was definitely surprised. And I think that he pulled that off successfully or Riley, the author, not the dad, he pulled it off because you were so distracted by like the whole assisted suicide conversation. And once that was told to you, it was like, okay, well now there's all these implications. There's all this morality thoughts that you're having. And I was not even considering that someone else, let alone this man, was actually responsible.
I completely forgot that happened.
No, man. When we found out that it was her dad, I was like, but I'm going to be so honest, from the very beginning, the way he kept like his weird behavior about Kit and the whole situation, I was like side-eyed. I was like, he can't be trusted, because something about the way he was, I was like, if you know that your daughter is going through something like this and you know that she's a good person, and you even before we really found out it was her mom and like all this thing, I was like, if you as a father know that your daughter is going through this horrific time in her career because of something that happened with a patient, and you know deep down that especially if you did it, like, you know that she hasn't done this, and you're just sipping your morning coffee like nobody's business. I was like, I have 3 eyes and I'm staring at you. You've done something. Something about you is fishy. So that's my thought on her death before we get into other things. Yeah. You're so right. That's my eye.
Yeah. The dad was definitely gatekeeping, gaslighting, and girl bossing the entire book.
Literally. He was like, that's so crazy. Wow, I need some more creamer in my coffee.
It was shocking because he was barely in the book, like, to begin with. And so for him to be like, it's like sometimes that could be like the most worst twist. You're like, that doesn't even make any sense. But it made sense in this case because Riley found some way to relate back, like how they were all related in some way. A lot of coincidences like happened here, but at the same time, I was like, okay, that was pretty good. I was shocked too.
Yeah,
it's apparently forgettable. I came up on the screen and I was like, Kit was. Wait a minute. Okay.
Right, the next thing that happened in the book is we find out what happened to Mary. So at the beginning, Kit is taking over for Mary, And we don't know where Mary has gone. Did she vanish? Did she die? Did you have theories about this? And did it pan out?
I was like, for sure, someone killed her. Nobody just dies in Riley Sager's books for no reason.
Yeah.
No one just leaves their job and like has a happy life.
No way.
No. Yeah. I mean, one thing I really loved about this book, and not just because of this reveal, but the fact that this took place in the 80s, I think really, really worked for it. And I think it would work for a lot of thrillers. Because I feel like with some thrillers, maybe some fiction and even romance, some things could be totally solved and the book would be 10 pages if somebody just did a Google search. Like if you just like did a quick Goog, you would be able to find out so much. But having, it'd be in the 80s and that not be as readily available. That worked because it was like, okay, people could just like up and leave if they wanted to, and no one would bat an eye. So her just upping and leaving, but leaving all of her possessions behind is a little strange. For her doing that, I was just like, okay, I mean, she's probably dead in the house somewhere. I mean, because this is Riley Sager, but I didn't like suspect anything super crazy at first, I guess.
I had a crazy theory about Mary though. I was like thinking, she's either dead or she's working with because my house theory, I was like, she's got to be working with like the dead sister, still in the house, creeping around, and in the end she's gonna pop out and be like, we're alive, slay. No, that was not the case. Like, I was just myself up.
It's funny, Patches, that you talk about the whole thing being set in like the 80s, because there were some parts of the book that I forgot that, and I was like, if y'all don't just turn on Find My iPhone, if you don't just go on her Instagram and see what she posted last, who's tagged her in something? What's going on? Because didn't they say something about her just like leaving to a new job or like something? I can't remember what the situation was, but I was like, she hasn't taken a picture with a single friend. What's going on? What's going on? So yeah, the 80s thing, I was like, nobody has her phone number.
Yeah.
FaceTime her.
And again, I think like this is why I think the book was so well crafted, because you got to solve that for yourself, and it was so predictable, and it was so obvious. Like obviously Mary's dead. You've established the house is spooky. Things are going on. She's dead. She cannot be dead. So then when you got the answer that she is dead, it was just like, you got to check that off and you got to think, I'm so smart. And then he was busy behind the scenes crafting this entire story from an entire perspective you didn't think you were reading from. And I just think that's great. So related to Mary, the whole thing related to her is the next reveal is that Lenora was pregnant. Chanel clearly didn't see it coming. This, I will say, is the only thing that I probably predicted in the book, because someone's always pregnant, especially if we're talking when you set up these two girls and there was like 6 different men around the house. One of them's gonna get pregnant. That's just how it goes. I mean, like in stories like this, when you have a gothic manor, one of them was pregnant in whatever year, way back in the day. And I couldn't imagine whose kid was whose, or how anything was related or who the father would be, but I knew there was going to be a pregnancy, so it's not that I guess I appreciated there was one. And then the second part of the reveal is why Mary died, which was because she was doing a DNA test for Carter, who's the current groundskeeper, and he thought he was related to Lenora. He was left on a church doorstep that seemed to align with the time that Lenora was pregnant. And so she was performing that DNA test for him, and she died because somebody obviously didn't want the connections to be made. Did you see the pregnancy coming? I can't imagine you saw the DNA test coming. What did you think about that?
The pregnancy had me gagged. I'll just say it. Everybody's pausing. Because everybody's thinking, I'm just going to say I was gagged and gooped. And as soon as we found out that she was pregnant, I was like, is it Kit? I was like trying to calculate it in my head, and I was like, okay, but where would the baby have gone? Yeah, I'm like, where would the baby have gone? Who would have raised it? How did Kit end up with that man with the mom that she had? Like, I was like trying to put the pieces together and figure it out. And I was just, I had a feeling that something was going on. Like, especially when she started talking about that man that she was like over here dating and like whatever was going on. I was like, so he got her pregnant and dipped.
Yeah.
we know. And I was like, the thing that I was like, if she doesn't just steal that hairbrush and go and check if that is her mother the whole time.
No, I was shocked too that she was pregnant. I thought, I don't know, my big theories were everywhere, but I thought Mary could have been, her granddaughter or something. A little on the nose, but like, I mean, because Jessie was also her granddaughter, but I thought Mary turned out, I was like, something's fishy. Or at one point thought Kit might have been related because in all of Riley Sager's books, it's always someone like they're always related in some way, shape, or form or another. So I was like, it's either Mary or Kit, it must have been related. I never suspected anybody else, but yeah. Or when Mary died, never saw that coming at all. So
yeah, I mean, when we hear about the pregnancy, two things cross my mind. One, okay, somebody in this house then is the granddaughter related, or two, something horrible happened, and there's a reason the baby's not here. And then there's a comment, somebody said, who in the 60s was naming their kid Carter? So true. And yeah, I couldn't figure out how old everybody was because I thought Kit was like closer to my age in her late 20s. Early, but whatever. I couldn't figure it out again. Just going along for the ride. I'm just riding the wave. And yeah, of course, and in Riley Sager book too, since all the guys are just apparently drop dead handsome, gorgeous, somebody's bound to get pregnant.
That is so true. Riley Sager core. It's always like a girl who's poor, who has a traumatic past, a hot handyman, and a house is creepy.
The hot handyman trope. And you know what? I eat it up.
Yeah. I think there was like a book that we read for this book club. I think it was The Paris Apartment. And I remember in that book, everybody was thirsting over this one man, but then they described him. And I was like, if you don't just step outside, because it can't be that serious. Like, you were all falling on the ground over what you just described on this page. It can't be.
Just the most average white man ever.
Yes. And that just made me so mad. So the whole time I was reading this book, I kept being like, and I also forgot everyone's ages. Like, I kept thinking that Kit would be Lenore's child instead of like her grandchild because of how I was like, okay, it's not adding up. But the whole time, the Riley Sager thing was very attractive men reading the books. I'm like, come on, Riley, let's be for real.
When is he going to write a man as a main character? Is that going to happen for us?
I want that because I need some questions answered.
The perspective from the hot handyman.
Listen, I'll read it. I'll be there.
Okay, next reveal was Evangeline and Winston's actual deaths and what happened. The fourth reveal is that Virginia didn't actually die. So in the family massacre, the way that we found out how the parents actually died was so messy and convoluted. And this is where my 5-star went to a 4-star, is because there was just a moment where, I can't even remember what happened. So the mom killed the dad was the reveal there. And then Ricky Patrick, who is Kit's dad, shocker reveal, is the one who killed the mom. But there was like this, it was just, the scene was so weird because she was like baiting him. She like wanted him to kill her. And that just felt a little bit weird to me. I didn't love that whole scene. Go ahead.
I just kind of put something together. Isn't it interesting though that she was kind of begging for that, but also his wife later was also kind of asking like to be put out of her misery?
Sure. So he's just killing sick women.
Okay. Well, interesting. I just put that together. I mean, the dad had it coming. I was waiting for the dad to die on like page 2. So Winston. Winston, I was ready for it. It's like, this guy sucks. He's sleeping with everybody in the house. It's not his own daughters. Like, this is weird. Somebody get rid of this guy.
I was shocked that the mom was the one who offed Winston. I didn't see that coming at all. But I wish like a little I agree with Kayla on how she went out. It was like, why? Because she was covered in blood with her husband. I was like, couldn't the detective or somebody like question like why was she covered in his blood or whatever? And I don't know. The whole thing was a little messy.
Yeah, I feel like that whole scene was, somebody mentioned it being rushed, and I felt the same way. It was kind of hard to picture how everything was happening and why it happened that way. And also the thing that Elias mentioned about like her being covered up with blood, I feel like if they had been killed like at the same time and there was no time between, I mean, maybe it's because of the way forensics were back then. Like, I don't know how forensics and like all those testing things would have gone, but I feel like if they had a way to see how long that blood was like on her versus like her death or like whatever, I feel like it would have been very easy to figure out that, there might have been some time between this, so it couldn't have been this person, and like blah blah blah. So I feel like also this being set in the 80s, which it really didn't feel that way. Not that I was there at that time, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't
You're
know.
like, I have first-hand experience. I know. I'm not there.
Somebody who was an Ellen Voices 80s reader? Like, no. So I just felt like I kept feeling like the book was more modern than it was. But then I had all these questions of, couldn't they figure out based off of where the bodies were positioned and like all of these things, who could and couldn't have killed them? And it was really strange that she was like begging to be killed when like her husband, he had it coming, okay?
Oh, God.
Evil man. But the rest of it just didn't really make sense. So, and it was rushed for me. So
in the 80s, they did have forensic testing. Of course, I didn't know shit like this, but because that was like in the age of like Ted Bundy, and that's of course how they were able to catch him and stuff. But her having the husband's blood may not have been as weird. Maybe they like hugged or something. Like you wouldn't have been able to really tell, like unless it was somebody else's blood. I didn't find that. I did find it rushed. I didn't find anything that like happened like that too strange. But also, I was speaking of the 80s. I was talking about how like the 80s were, the time period. The book was great, and everybody was like, it didn't feel like the 80s at all, as if I had lived through the 80s. I can't speak on that. I'm just happy, they weren't able to take Instagram pictures of each other. So I don't know. With that reveal, though, I did think it was also very, very rushed. And then the whole Virginia didn't die thing. I have so many questions about her death, especially well, we'll get to that. But I don't know. I just assumed that she was, this sounds so gross to say, but if she was hanging, I assumed she was dead. Like, that's awful. Not. And here we are. So continue.
I guess we can slide right into the next one, that Lenora is actually Virginia. So Virginia didn't die, and she pretended to be, she was forced into pretending to be Lenora now. And then Miss Baker, oh no, I put Miss instead of Mrs. She would hate that. Is actually
have an
Lenora.
opinion about everything.
So these are the two tandem things that got revealed that I absolutely in no world saw coming. Made the book for me. This is my favorite plot twist. I've read it a few times now. Riley Sager has not done it, and so I was not expecting it at all. The whole idea that when you're reading from a perspective and it's established who it's from, that you find out you're reading from a different person. That is my favorite twist. I will always love it. And I didn't see it coming. I see some of you did, and I think Elias, you said you thought there was something going on with the swapping of the sisters.
I thought the sisters swapped in the, like, when we were reading in the very first, like, POV of, like, when Lenora's like, oh, I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought maybe they could have swapped, but then I switched back. But then I did not see Miss Baker actually, who, like, was actually Virginia the entire time. So I was like, wow, that was really good. But also at the same time, like, Lenora, who is actually Virginia, right? Yeah, that part a little confused me a little bit. I had to like get my bearings. I had to like go back and reread so like the POVs and stuff. But I just found it so funny how Virginia, aka Lenora, out of spite for her sister who wanted to punish her, she decided to fake being paralyzed or like disabled for like the past 50 years, and just was silent in bed, wearing a diaper, just to spite her sister and to wait for her son. And at that part, I was just like, lady, you're gonna pretend all that, and what will happen if your son ever found you? You're just gonna get up, spring a miracle, Jesus' way, and been like, I've been waiting for you. Yeah, it was just a little funny, convoluted, and I thought that part was like,
I felt that was like so intense to be like the situation of her, and I think this whole plot twist shocked. It was so like the plot twist of the switching. I love that and stuff. It's so delicious. I'm like, the flavors are melting on my tongue. Like, that's literally me. But I think that the only part that really, to me in my brain, I just couldn't watch me go on Storygraph and make this 4 stars now. But the only part that I just couldn't in my head compute, that I think just was a little odd to me, was just the whole thing of her like faking being disabled for so long. I was just kind of like, there's some evil in you. There, like, you are vicious and violent. Especially because like, I think that, I don't know why, maybe now I'm thinking this, but I feel like her sister was not that evil to her in the past. From like, they were like, she was definitely not a good person to her, right? But I feel like to have been doing that for all that time. Like I just looked in my brain. I was just like, yeah. I was just like, what you described to us about this past was not, from what I remember, cruel enough for you to fake being disabled and keep your sister trapped here for all the time. And yeah, like, what if your son literally never finds you?
But like, also, like, wasn't it like, I found it funny how like literally none of the nurses or any doctor, they never called the doctor, they couldn't find like her muscles didn't like what is that word, atrophy? Yeah. So I was just like even though Kit tested it, you know, I was just like, you couldn't tell, you couldn't see. I don't know.
Yeah. And I also feel like
just found it weird.
Yeah, and I also feel like her, because she was not actually disabled, her pretending to be disabled and like being in the bed. I don't know if you've stayed in a bed for long enough, but your body starts to literally feel a kind of pain that so it's like, why would you choose to be like, it was just like really weird. Like, it was a weird way for that to be communicated and to be done, for her to just be like, yeah,
she's dedicated. She was dedicated.
Yeah, because I mean, especially if you're just like, even after being in a hospital bed for like a week, you're like, okay, I need to move. Like, I need to get up and move. So it's like, is that why she was weirdly walking in the middle of the night?
I think so.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like really, really weird. And I think that like a disability being used for that piece of the story, it just felt kind of weird. And that's like my one thing about the book, that I'm just like, side eye. Like,
I love bookish behaviors comment said, I'm sorry, but no one is disciplined enough to pretend to be paralyzed for decades.
That's what I'm saying.
She had to have been getting up in the middle of the night. She probably didn't even need anybody bathing her. She was just doing it on her own. No big deal. My question was, like, the pregnancy, though. Did she not look pregnant? Like, would they not have been able to... Okay, so wait, hang on. Help me out here.
I don't even remember, like, the timelines of that. Like, when she was...
Who
she had to be before the massacres happened, right? Or did I mix that up?
The pregnancy?
I thought that was like the night of.
Like, no, she gave birth like the night of, I think.
Yeah.
She
gave birth, and then so the one, oh my god, see, I can't keep up with this. Who was hanging in the like ballroom?
It was
Virginia, the pregnant girl.
Virginia, aka fake Lenore.
Just gave birth. Like, did she not? You're still. I've never had a baby, but you're still like a little pregnant.
Everything just emptied out.
Like, I don't know. That part was weird. That part was a little weird.
But yeah, that is true. Like, the detective never found that out. Oh, speaking of the detective, he was like the most useless character ever.
Yeah, I thought he would be.
He drove me crazy. He drove me crazy because he would keep telling Kit to not get involved, and then she would ask him questions, and he would answer every single one. Like, he would tell her everything she needed to know, no problem. Just like, oh, you want to know more about this? Here's this.
Did also mention that he worked there, right, as a teenager, so he couldn't have recognized like the two sisters who swapped places or something like that, right? So it's like a huge, like, some plot holes that didn't make sense to me that I thought was, a little too convenient.
Wait, the pregnancy thing is such a good point, because now I'm thinking, I have also never been pregnant, but now I'm thinking, like, did they just scoop her empty? Like, isn't there like a placenta and other things that are supposed to be there?
You give birth like twice, I thought.
They were just like,
so, because
bye, Pookie.
I never wanted it to happen to me.
This took place in like the 20s, right? So maybe during the time, I don't know.
Yeah,
someone said the switch happened 6 months later.
Murders and stuff happened in the 20s, so all the conversations.
Oh yeah, so they probably were just like, anyways.
And then I did say earlier too that I got them mixed up. People were pointing out that the crime didn't happen in the 80s; it happened in the 20s.
No, yeah.
Obviously, there was no DNA testing there.
And see, that's why I think to me, I wish it felt more 80s, because that is something that I really like in books, and I liked about Survive the Night, although I didn't like most of the other stuff. Is like the real 80s and 90s setting I love, and I feel like it could have had a little bit more of that. So the fact that you were even able to forget part of this was the 20s and part of this was the 80s, I think just shows that the setting was not strong enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you could have told me that the mom, like back in the past, Evangeline, you could have told me that she pulled out her phone, was on TikTok during that murder, and I would have believed you, because it really didn't feel like anything 20s. Like, I only remember that the murders of the parents happened back then, and then Lenore is right now.
And they did
think-
pay off the doctors. I forgot. Somebody commented that
Yeah.
too. Olivia said they did pay off the doctors.
You know,
Oh yeah, that's true.
if one doctor, I mean, they were protecting Virginia, but I mean, if a single like doctor in like the 80s went to go and like, you know, took care of, if they got a doctor up there, everything would just fall apart. But they never got a doctor.
Yeah.
They instead got caretakers, but the caretakers couldn't even tell. So, product of its time, I guess.
Yeah.
I think as far as her faking it, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts as somebody who has a father who has had a stroke and is now permanently disabled and in a wheelchair. I have certain thoughts about it. And I know people are saying like the whole thing, like there's so much in the disabled community about, you know, being accused of faking it and that being such a terrible stereotype. And I agree with that. But there's also an aspect of this book that like, I'm happy that there wasn't a disabled character who was villainized by the end.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that she wasn't actually disabled. She was just fucked up.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
She wasn't actually a disabled person who became the villain. Because that is also a trope that happens a lot and is not appreciated.
Yeah.
So
I just feel like they built up so much on the idea and concept that she was faking it. By the time it actually was revealed that she was faking it, I was like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, that I could see coming because I feel like they kept talking about it. And plus, I don't really know how strokes affect the face, but I mean, when I was told by reading this, it's like she cannot move at all except for this one hand, but it mentioned that she was smiling a lot, and I was like, can she do that? Like, I don't know. It could have been a specific type, or it could have been certain muscles she was able to move, and then of course completely mobile with her left arm. But I mean, I guess they kept just alluding to the idea that maybe she's faking it because she could be walking around in the room. And then once she let the snow globe fall though, and she lost that piece of her, I was like, maybe not, because I don't think she would have let that, but she also probably wouldn't have wanted to reveal that to Kit. I don't know. I was going back and forth with it, but I assumed she was faking it.
that part was just like a little bit triggering for me when she dropped the snow globe, because I was like, that's fucked up that you're like tormenting this woman who you think is disabled.
Yeah. Kit was a horrible character.
Listen,
she was really dumb, actually.
I did not like Kit in that, like, I don't really feel any type of way towards her. Like, I'm not like, oh my god, Ben bestie Kit. And I'm not like, she's so evil, I'm going to suffer forever. But that scene with the globe, I was like, if you actually, like, to me, that is too much of a risk.
Yeah.
With something that somebody cannot replace, and especially because I just knew that she wasn't going to be, like, what did she expect? Oh my god, no! Like, you just have to jump out of the bed and grab it. And then for her to just watch it break, and she's like, oh, that's crazy. Anyways.
That was the only way, though, that, I mean, not to defend Kit, I don't think she was the most fascinating character, but that truly was going to be the only way she was going to get Lenora to move if she could.
Yeah.
So I get it, but it sucked. It was hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so those were the 7 main reveals that I had. Then I have a bunch of mini reveals. I don't know what I want your commentary on this to be, but Lenora didn't help Virginia. How were you shocked when she was hanging and she moved the chair so she could not get down?
That
so
listen,
oh God.
that was a wild moment. That part had me like, maybe she isn't that terrible of a person. She's like, I'm just gonna help you finish the job. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if I saw my sister in such a situation, my first thought would not be, let me move the chair. I'd be like, how can I get you down? And how can we figure out, like, what's going on here? Because I feel like that was just a lot.
I don't know. I could really hate a person, and I don't think I would do that.
Yeah.
I thought the shoe fit. Throughout the entire book, she was like a pretty nasty character anyway. So when she revealed that, I was like, I'm not shocked that you did that, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. It was in her character.
Yeah.
Then we had a reveal that Mrs. Baker left with the baby. I think this was my favorite reveal. Like, it took me a minute to make the connections that, like, I know it revealed that Lenora was Mrs. Baker, but I was still thinking of Mrs. Baker as the woman who slept with the father back in the day. And spending half the book getting to know Mrs. Baker, and then the reveal that she was sleeping with the dad, I was like, that's so fucked up that we know this woman. I don't know her to be like that. And so then when all of the connections made, I was like, oh no, wait, that was Lenora. There was actually a Mrs. Baker. She's gone and she left with the baby. So the baby was born. The baby was named Marcel. So it turned out to be, there was no reveal regarding us already knowing the baby. It wasn't a character in the book. And I actually appreciated that because there are too many things and too many connections, too many relations that I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, like Carter was just like a red herring the entire time. The most like unimportant character. It was funny how Kit thought she did something when she was like, oh my gosh, she slammed on the brakes for no reason in the neighborhood. And she was like, it's you. You're the one who killed Mary. And I was like, girl, you're really going to accuse a grown, strong-ass man in the car by yourself?
Not the hot handyman. Keep him around.
And as soon as they got in the car, I was like, this is giving me flashbacks to a book I really hated.
Yeah.
And now I'm worried about this man and her being trapped in this vehicle and what's about to happen. But then
it was giving me Home After Dark vibes when she accused him. Because...
immediately when they first met, because I did read that much in Home Before Dark, where they met at like the front gate, her and that other guy, and I was like, oh my god, it's the same damn thing. Crap, I really want to like this book. But yeah, I suspected him the whole time too, and I just read another thriller where the guy that she was like kind of hooking up with and like telling all the secrets to him, like he's gonna come back and be bad, and he was. So I don't know, I was just expecting that, and then I felt kind of bad at the end because he was completely innocent and nothing to do, and he was just like looking for his mom. It's like I just want Carter to get what he wants. Poor guy.
Next mini reveal was that Ricardo and Archie are in love. Did you care?
No.
What was this reveal?
Good for them.
I was like, I felt like in a way it was like a little cheap to just like put he and Ricardo, or Archie and Ricardo were together, so he's safe. And
So
I was like,
somebody
what?
can tag it on Goodreads as queer representation.
Sager's an ally.
Rolling my
imagine
eyes.
Imagine Riley Sager in his office, like, that's checked off. That's checked off.
There was also a little reveal with the relations that it was a reveal that, which one was it? One of the sisters was not actually the child of the parents. Or like Winston.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was. Yeah, it was Lenora.
It was just a servant. A random servant will never meet.
One of them wasn't technically related, is what I remember.
I think I think Virginia was not their actual child.
No, Virginia was the pregnant one.
Oh, she was their actual child?
Yeah.
Okay, so then Lenore,
right.
real Lenore is not their actual child.
Mrs. Baker. Yeah.
Oh wait, that's right, because she was so mean about that. She was like, blah 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 blah, and it was like,
yeah, Lenora.
Yeah, I remember that.
Reveals are getting stacked. Next
and this
reveal.
one was
Jessica/Jessie is related to the family.
Then why did she leave?
That was so random because that shocked me, and it was a really, really random reveal. So it's like, okay, you know that your grandma is faking all this, and then you're still like, okay, bye.
Yeah, that was strange. Like, why did she leave?
Like, that was a really dumb reveal to me, and also Jessica was not really that important in my brain, so for her to be the reveal,
like my friend
granddaughter, she's the main. Yeah,
I know everything.
Family tree.
Wow.
It was Virginia and Patrick, and they had Marcel, and then Marcel had Jessica, and then Jessica came to the manor being like, I want to get in with this family because I'm related. Did not see that one coming.
Did not either.
Jessica, like, I still don't get why she left. She must have known Mary was murdered, right? Because
she must have known everything.
That she knew everything, but then her friend mysteriously disappeared. Of all the people, she would know that Mary wouldn't just leave. Maybe she just that was weird.
Yeah, that was.
It was very strange.
I think it was just in case somebody predicted everything. He was like, "I'm gonna give you one more that's stupid. Like, here's just an extra one."
Well, yeah, because it was really dumb. Because it was like, did she just hope that Kit was gonna somehow figure it out and then save her grandmother, or she was just like, I hope everyone dies so I can inherit everything because I made my grandmother sign away everything to me.
Yeah, She knew.
Well, Jesse
she
was
knew
weird
kids
from the
were- yeah.
beginning. Jesse was
Yeah.
weird with like the whole Ouija board thing, like just kind of being quirky, like just let's play with the Ouija board and I'm gonna mess with you the whole time. I was already like, okay, well, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
Cool.
This one was
And then
weird.
The ending when Lenore and Patrick sacrifice themselves to the crumbling manor that's falling into the ocean, because of course it is.
This was
Whatever.
my favorite. This was my favorite reveal. I loved it.
They were just like, see ya.
I loved this part. I mean, you were talking about the ghosts earlier. I of course kind of wanted there to be some sort of paranormal aspect because, of course, in a mansion where presumably 3 people were killed, you're gonna like have that, I guess, residual energy, maybe like, oh, there might be like bumps and creaks in the night. The scariest part was the fact that they were walking up the stairs sideways and they decide to stay in the building and they're just okay with like leaning while they're sleeping. I'm like, y'all, this could go in the ocean at any point. And you're okay.
Yeah.
This is, y'all are fine with just sleeping. Like, my bed was this 2 inches closer to the window this morning. I'm like, get out of the house. Oh my God, leave. Oh my God, get out. But them sacrificing themselves, I really liked the little speech that he gave his daughter and then just walked in the house and like, just because I hated the guy. So I was like,
Yeah.
go, Dad.
I think there was another way that Patrick could have died. I saw some people's Goodreads reviews saying something really great that was like, Lenora should have died by herself in the house, because then also the title would make more sense. The only one left. Like, she went down with the house.
No, Patrick also had to make it about him. He's like, no. This is about me too. I played a huge role here.
The whole
Really
thing
figures like
reveal,
the only
too, is
duo
like,
left.
it was Patrick. Like, every reveal is like, who killed this person? It was Patrick. Who got her pregnant? It was Patrick. It was Patrick's story. I think Riley Sager, we are all incorrect. He did make a man a main character. We just didn't know he was the main character.
Yeah, and he would have gone to jail. Absolutely. Yeah, he would have gotten
that I think his decision to die in that mansion was him trying to avoid legal repercussions. Like, I still think that.
He's like,
and
jail?
also, he's like, not on my watch. Has anyone ever watched like Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how Grey's Anatomy would have like the most dramatic like songs, like at the end of an episode or when someone's dying. Like, to me, when Lenore and Patrick were dying, I was just in my head like singing like a Grey's Anatomy really dramatic song, or like, you know that one song that's like, in the arms of an angel.
Yes.
Like, the thing's just like exactly like the door just closes in the house, just like
That, like, How to Save a Life song starts playing.
Yes,
like that.
exactly. How to Save a Life by the Fray, or whatever the group makes. That song, the Grey's Anatomy. Yes, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Chasing cars.
That song continues into the final scene, which is the fact that there's just a big happy family at the end who got to be together.
I feel like a really good twist might have been like they were all still in the house, like it was crumbling, and maybe like Kit would survive because she was saved by her dad, and it said the only one left.
Yeah, the letter, like the ending part, I was initially like, oh my God, what a happy ending. But now I'm thinking about it like, she was really like, dear love of my life, just so you know, I've been having my eat, pray, love era. And if you want to join me, here's your ticket, Pookie. So she really said.
You know what? I was fine with it. I was like, you know what? It's a free trip to Paris.
I love it.
Works for me.
I loved it. I got teary-eyed because I was like, finally Virginia's being able to do what she wants, because I still feel like she was under a lot of pressure from her sister, Mrs. Baker, who was actually whoever, because I can't keep up. But she says, until we meet again, Virginia. And by the end of it, I was kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I did kind of cry at the end of that. It was very sad.
Yeah, I felt so happy for her.
I feel like this is one of the happier Riley Sager books, like of all of his books. He's like, I'm going to give you the most twists, the most convoluted twist, and a happy ending. Bye, guys. Until later.
Again, this was really his response to reviewers. This was rather than being Taylor Adams and writing an author murdering all his reviewers.
Maybe the title is him.
He decided to gift us with this.
Elias, maybe you're right.
My local book club is reading The Last Word, and I'm scared.
I have never heard of that book. Now I'll be reading it because that does sound juicy, but I don't know
It
if
was
it's
wild. It
bad.
was fun. Actually, speaking of that, my last question is always like, what books or movies remind you of this? What would you recommend for this? I think The Last Word by Taylor Adams and The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz are both like a little unhinged and wild and like twist. So I would recommend both of those. I didn't grab them. My actual recommendation, I'll let you guys go first.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, I haven't read that.
Okay.
This has a snowball of twists at the end.
True.
I mean, like, snowball, but it's good. I didn't like this one as much as the only one left, but this one was twisty. I love a secluded cabin.
I would recommend The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware, which is like another gothic family drama twist in which like a young girl inherits like a house, but she's like not even related to the family. She doesn't know why she's getting an invitation or inheriting this house until she gets there. And a movie I would recommend would be Crimson Peak, which is like another gothic horror. It's the atmosphere. It's nothing to do with family drama. But yeah, those are my good recs, or my recs.
There is so many family manor stories for sure.
I have not read this one, but it's got similar cover vibes. It's been on my TBR for a long time.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Ooh.
What is similar? Madam by Phoebe Wynn. It's like an academy. It looks like it's gonna fall into the ocean.
Ooh.
I'll jot that one down.
Haven't read it.
I think my recommendation is gonna be The Other Woman by Sandy Jones. It looks that's crazy. You'll never know. It's called The Other Woman by Sandy Jones. I don't have a copy of it. Oh, you have it? Oh my gosh. Iconic. It is full of family drama and gaslighting. Like, Patches, you were headphones gone. So I was saying it's full of family drama and gaslighting. And you're gonna be like, what's going on? Who can I trust? The answer is no one. It was so juicy. I gave it 5 stars. So that's my recommendation.
I've hung on to this for a while because it just seems like a thriller that I would like. So I will make
It's so juicy.
Verity. Oh, you know what? Worst book I've ever read, but yes, I agree. This book is very similar to Verity.
I would recommend it, but I would never recommend it. Like it's not my kind of book. But
it's similar.
Love it.
But
it's similar, but you didn't hear it from me.
We've heard Madame is awful.
Oh no!
No! I didn't say it. I didn't say a thing. You didn't hear it from me.
Just the cover.
Not someone straight up recommending Gaslight, the movie.
1940s.
Oh my god! It's right in the middle of the timeline of this book.
I think I have some nonfiction Lizzie Borden books I could probably.
Oh, sure. My recommendation is The Turn of the Key. I think
yes.
Ruth Ware just has this gothic vibe. The Death of Mrs. Westaway is definitely a good one too. But this also has like the girl with the something has happened in her past. And it's also written in like letters, so it's similar to the typewriter situation.
I don't think anything has topped The Turn of the Key. Ever since I read nothing has beat The Turn of the Key.
I actually did not like that book.
No.
What's the tea? I love when people hate a book that I've loved because I just want to hear it from their perspective, and I'm like, yeah, I agree.
That Borden is related to Lindsay? What? Yeah, I've got a couple of Lizzie Borden books. Have not read. See that little bookmark?
I had no idea Villa would have been considered similar. I'm reading that next month.
Oh, that one was good. I actually did like that one. Yeah. It's slower, but I think it's really well crafted.
I also think like Rebecca, it's not similar, but like if you're looking for something gothic and you want like a classic mystery that feels like it's going to be paranormal but isn't, like Rebecca is a good one.
The Hacienda.
Oh, sure.
Oh.
That one is top tier.
If you want a paranormally one, that one's definitely good.
God, that was so good. And I'm so excited for her vampire
book.
I love the mix of, I love the comments.
Of thoughts,
like
right?
5 star, 1 star for the same book. It's like, this is that. That's why I love this book club is I feel like, well, I guess all genres are kind of the same, but like thrillers really are just hit or miss. Like you can like the same plot, but just the way things are handled can leave you on either end of the spectrum. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is everything. Thank you all for your comments as we went through this. I think this was the most engaging live show we've had because, you know, it's Riley Sager. We're all reading it. We're reading it together. We're going to, if he comes out with something next year, it'll probably be a pick. I'm not going to lie. We're committed in this house.
Here for
I will
it.
be reading it. I will be reading it day one.
So will I.
Thank you all for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, I should also tell you. Sorry, I should tell you what we're reading. It's The Twisted Love Story by Samantha Dowd. The announcement.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
I think it's actually going to be a really good thing because this month it was a little more mystery than thriller. I was expecting thrill, and there was a lot more mystery. And I think this one's going to lean more thriller. So if you are hunting for that, hopefully it delivers. But I'll see you next month for that discussion. Thank you everybody for being here.